Well, everybody, I'm super excited to have my guest back today for a second interview. Charlotte Smith has an incredible business. I found her through the world of podcasts, where she has the Profitable Mindset podcast, where she helps coach farmers and with mindset, with business practices, so many great things. And I am so excited to have her back on our podcast. Welcome, Charlotte.
Thank you, Scott. It's great to be here. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Well, I know the feedback that we got from your first episode. I mean, we still get feedback from it, so I know that it resonated with a lot of people. And I thought, well, this time of year especially, because I feel like there's a lot of moving pieces. All these farmers are busy. There's stuff going on, but at the same time, they're winding down, kind of. I mean, they're obviously planting spring crops really for next year, but they're also winding down from fall, and there's sort of this lull in the season. And I thought there might be some topics that we could really speak to that would resonate with them, and they could take advantage of this down season. I also know that for all of you who don't know Charlotte, I encourage you to go back and listen to our first episode. And we'll put the link in the show notes where you can go back and, with a click of a button, you can listen to that episode and hear her story and learn more about her. But today I really want to take the best use of Charlotte's time and dive right into some topics. I know one thing I've seen you really hone in on lately is email lists
Mhm.
for businesses and things like that. Do you mind? I know social media always seems to be this, you know, thing that we feel the pressure to perform on. And sometimes I feel like this email list, sort of takes the back seat. And I'm like, would love to hear your thoughts on this and kind of help people understand the importance of it.
Sure. It's huge. It's email. So you nailed it on the head that social media is flashy. It's in your face every day. It's free. And it appears that a lot of people are making a ton of money on social media. And so it's a very alluring. The problem is it's very deceiving because there are so many studies that show email marketing is, you make 140 times or more money through email marketing versus social media. But social media is distracting because you put up a post, maybe you spend 30 minutes getting it just right, getting your picture, doing your reel, getting the words right, and you've
Right.
done it and you feel like you've done your marketing for the day. You're like, I'm done. I'm good. I did my marketing. So it's very deceptive. It's very deceiving. We get deceived into thinking we've done our marketing, but yet there's no money in the bank
Right.
at the end of the day or at the end of the social media post. We don't make money on social media, but most farmers don't equate it. They don't recognize it. So I gauge how good your marketing is on your bank account. Is it working to make you money? So email marketing has withstood the test of time. It's been around for what, 25 years? I don't know, 30. Yeah, long time. And it is still the one place where you can have all your connections in one place in this email marketing software provider such as Mailchimp or Google it. There's any of them will work for you, any one of them. You have all your contacts right there. You can send one email and say you have 1,000 people on your email list, almost all 1,000 of them. Like I might have one email go to spam or two. So 999 people see your email. 40% of them will open it, and 10% of them will click on it and maybe buy what you have. So out of 1,000 people, you can make 100 sales. And if you have 1,000 followers on your Instagram account or any one of your accounts, and you put a post up, number one, you're not going to make money. And number two, only a fraction, say you have the same 1,000 followers, only a fraction of them will see it because of the algorithm. It's designed, it's a math equation designed to prevent 93% of your followers from seeing your post. So there's no comparison, but yet we as a society get so caught up looking at it thinking, oh my gosh, those people with 1 million followers have to be making tons of money. So that's my goal, to get lots of followers. And I think studies show that the average influencer makes about $600 a month. So when you look at all the stats, there's no comparison, yet it's really hard to get people to say, to stop doing their reels and instead focus on writing an email because it seems boring. Or they might say something like, well, nobody checks their email, which is so not true. I hear that one a lot, but everyone's got Amazon. We're all making purchases day in and day out. We got to check our email to follow up on all of that. So people do check their email. And now that I've been teaching this for 12 years and I have thousands of farmers who've done email marketing with me, the studies just keep proving true that email marketing is still the workhorse of your marketing. And so you want to, we still use social media. You funnel your followers and get them over on your email list. But yes, as far as the power of having the ability to build a business using just social media, it's not going to work. But email marketing, absolutely. And when you go to if you ever go to sell your business, you can sell your email list because that's
true.
that's how you can make money.
Yeah. Well, and the thing I think people don't realize, because they don't understand that algorithm you mentioned, is out of 1,000 people, you're lucky if 30 to 80 people see that. Now, if you have more followers, well, that number is going to be higher. But like you said, with an email list, that that's going to end up in front of every single one of the people who get your email. Now, they may not all open it like you said, but the next time they might. I mean, it might just be a timing issue, or maybe that's another part of the conversation maybe to have. But okay, so I know there's all kinds of farming businesses. I know you deal with all kinds of farms. Obviously, we deal mostly with flower farmers, but so thinking flower farmers, what is the best way for someone to build that list?
The email list?
Yes.
Okay, you got to have your website because that's where they come from. And you have a freebie on your website, a lead magnet. You have something up there that someone who lands on your website is willing to trade their email for. And you've all seen it when you land on websites places you like to shop. There's a little pop-up that says sign up and get our 10% off coupon. And you put in your email and your name and you get the coupon. And now you get their emails once a week. Now, I don't suggest any of us do coupons because then you just build an email list full of people that want a discount. Right. They're going to wait for the sale. So that's not what we want.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yes. So I teach flower farmers, especially, you will put up something that your ideal customers, your favorite customers would love to get from you for free and would be willing to trade their email for. And it's usually something like 6 steps to make I got dahlias here in the background, 6 steps to make your dahlias last longer. Or in the winter, it could be how to dry your favorite flowers at the end of the season, or how to make the 6 steps, 3 steps to designing the perfect holiday centerpiece or something like that. So it's on your website and people land on it and they don't know you yet. They're like, oh, this looks interesting. Oh, cool. I'm a flower grower. I have a huge garden, lots of flowers, and I'm still going to sign up for a freebie that says 6 steps to make your flowers last longer or something like that, because I love flowers. I want to know all there is to know. And the public is the same way. So that is the way you do it off of your website. And then the next step is you promote that freebie or that lead magnet on your social media. So you jump on, you do a reel on Instagram and you say, hey, check this out. I just created this thing. It's going to help you make your flowers last longer this season. Or do you want to dry some of those flowers in your garden? Or my daughter, she has a huge dye garden, DYE. All her flowers in her garden are to dye material that she then makes into quilts. So she would do a lead magnet for her little flower farm about like the 5 best flowers to raise if you're going to dye your own dye your own fabric or something like that. And so then you jump on social media and you promote it there, and people go to the link in your bio and they click and they get on your email list. Now you can sell to them from your email list. Because if you try to sell on social media, the algorithm it sort of punishes you. It's not like it's a person punishing you, but you're punished.
You are.
Yeah, if you try to sell something on social media, you are prevented from even more people being able to see you.
Yeah. Yeah, which stinks. So if I get that, but a lot of times people don't have very big followings on social media. And so I'm wondering, like, if you're at a farmer's market, I know we used to do a farmer's market a long time ago, and we would try to get people to sign up, like say, hey, these people that are here, use the QR code, or here, we got a notebook, just put your email list down, or your email down. And, sometimes people would do it and sometimes people wouldn't. And I don't know if that's an effective way to do it or not, but I'm just trying to think of ways, if you're just starting and you don't have a big social media presence, let me ask this, is it worth advertising, sponsoring a post about it and try to, let the
Good
Instagram,
question.
push it out there?
No, not unless you're going to go on the back end and do go to the business back end of Facebook, which you place your ad through Facebook and then it goes to Instagram. If you know how to place ads, you can go ahead and do it. But if you are boosting a post, you're not going to get people who want to buy your product. It's just, and Facebook ads are the long game. I've been doing them for years, and I still hire a consultant every time I go to place a new ad because it's super complicated and they're changing the algorithm all the time. And there's lots of code and, so many things. So no, I wouldn't just boost a post, period. I would never waste the money to do that. Yes, you may get signups to followers or signups to your email list, but they won't be the people that are going to buy your product. But I do have something to say about the farmers market. It's an amazing way to get email list subscribers if you know how to do it. And how I recommend you do it is, first of all, this is where the mindset comes in. The farmers market, your farmers market booth, it's more valuable for you to spend your time getting someone on your email list than the sale at hand, the sale you make. Because if I sell you one bouquet for $30 and I don't get you on my email list, the odds of you coming back are so slim. But say I don't sell you a bouquet, but we chat because, you're headed out of town. You can't buy the flower, but we have a great conversation. And I tell you about, oh my gosh, I've got the perfect thing for you. 6 tips to keep your flowers fresh longer. Let me get your email so we can keep in touch. And I enter your email right on my phone. I didn't make any money that day, but now you're on my email list. You're going to come back and see me week after week or every 2 weeks or twice a month. And now instead of being worth $30 and no email, you're worth the lifetime value of a customer. I help my clients figure out what is the lifetime value of your customer. It could be $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 over time.
Sure.
So the email list at the farmer's market it's so much more important to get that instead of just making a sale. So what I say is go there and have your phone in your hand or an iPad or something. It's worth it to take an extra person whose sole job is to get emails. And you just say, hey, let me get your email so we can keep in touch. I can let you know what's in season. I can let you know what we're bringing to market next week. What's your email? Let me get you signed up here. and you do it conversationally, and you just make it part of the transaction. And now, because my coaching group has hundreds of farmers in it, they'll post on Facebook, and it's not a competition, but they just post like, oh my gosh, I got 35 new emails this week and I'm so excited. Or I took my kids to the market and I told them I'd buy them ice cream if they got 20 people, and they did. So we make it a game, we make it fun. And it's the only way you're going to be able to serve your customers and get your beautiful products into their hands is on repeat, is if you get them on that email list. So yeah, that's a great way to do it.
Well, I think, I mean, I just loved your approach to that, because I feel like sometimes um people get nervous about approaching people and being that salesy person. But I also, I know with mindset coaching and things like that, I know one of the things you talk about is not that you're selling, but that you're serving.
Yes. Yeah.
And
So
yeah,
there are so many studies that show what fresh flowers do, how it changes people's moods. And I have women who say, I love putting your flowers on my counter because my whole house feels clean, even though I haven't cleaned a toilet in a month, and it lifts my mood and it's so bright. And so there are studies that show your flowers, everyone who's listening, flowers help people feel better. So you're robbing them of that experience if you don't do what it takes to get your flowers in their hands. So yes, you're serving people. Let me help you feel better. I'm going to give you this value. We're having an exchange of value. I'm giving you some flowers. You exchange it for the money. Everybody's happy. You feel amazing. And what happens when you look at it as if you're serving people, they love paying you money. They want to see you succeed. They feel so good about what you're doing. They want to support you. So it's not like people will say they feel guilty and salesy and all that, like I'm taking money from them. No, they want to give you money because you're helping them.
mm. And I think that's so important. I mean, I just really feel like sometimes we get in our own way when it comes to that.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that you brought that up, because if we try to sell someone else's stuff, it's so easy. Like, oh my gosh, you got to go get my neighbor's eggs. The yolks are so dark, golden and orange, and
Right.
they're only $75 a dozen. They're the most amazing eggs in the whole world. So I can sell my neighbor's eggs, but then when it comes to my eggs, it's like, oh, I'm guilty. I feel bad. I should charge 99 cents. They should be free. Why am I even charging money? It should be free. So yes, we absolutely get in our own way. And that's just a mindset shift. When you when you practice feeling, I mean, it could feel terrible at first, and that's okay. Are you willing to do it feeling terrible, knowing that with practice, it gets easier and easier to start to recognize that you are serving other people when you sell them? So it just takes practice, but I think everybody struggles with that at first when we go to sell our own thing, but look how easy it is to sell somebody else's thing.
And that's really true. It really is
Mhm.
true. I know I hear it all the time with people doing that very thing.
Yeah,
Going back to,
you have to remind yourself that you're changing lives. Like, look at all the people that email you and say, you may not know this, but I hear my flower farmers say things like this all the time, that they get an email from someone who says, my sister-in-law just got diagnosed with cancer, and you gave me an extra bouquet this week, and I gave it to her, and it made her whole life. And then the farmer's like, this is why we do what we do. So we are transforming lives. We're changing lives. So it's our obligation to continue letting people know we have this amazing product that will help them.
well, again, going back to emails, if like, how often should somebody send an email? I mean, I know that with winter, kind of production might not be as high as it is right now in the fall or the summer for flower growers. But I know, but we have florists that listen too, and their seasons are, they have holidays coming up. So I'm always curious, what is a reasonable number of emails to send marketing wise, where you're still getting in front of people, still making connections, but you're not turning them off.
All right. So I'll first of all, let me address the big picture is I coach farmers of all sizes that sell a lot of different ways and CSAs and wedding flowers and farm stands. And so the answer is going to vary depending on your specific model. And so when I'm coaching a farmer, their advice will be, or the consulting I offer them, the coaching I offer them will be different based on how they're selling and what they're selling and based on a lot of things. But at the same time, I think there's an average that you can't you don't want to email less than once a week. And here's why. People buy when they trust you, and they trust you. Consistency builds trust. So if you're emailing once a month, it's not enough to stay on top of their mind. And then when they get that email a month later, they don't remember why they signed up for your email list. They don't remember your farm name. They don't remember what's going on, and they'll unsubscribe. But if they're getting an email once a week, they will remember, you will keep in touch. And then when it's time to sell, they will buy from you, which brings up the third point I want to make about that is you can't let off just because you don't have product to sell. Just because the season's over, you don't get to put your email list to bed for the winter. You have to keep in touch with people all winter long, because when it's time to sell again in the spring, if you haven't kept in touch with them, it gives this feeling of you just reached out to me because you have something to sell, instead of where were you all winter. And so yes, you want to send one email a week all winter long. And in the summer season or the busy season, that might move to 2 emails a week if you're doing, if you need to send out a schedule or you need to send out various things. But so the number will vary by your farm, but minimum once a week, year round. And I work with farmers because the next question is, well, what in the world would I email them about in the off season? We work with farmers to come up with lists of 50 or 100 topics. There's so much you can email them about in the off season, but consistency is key. That's what's going to build trust so that when you finally have something to sell again, they're ready and waiting to pay you money.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And the one thing I thought was, as you were saying that, I'm like, with social media, sometimes the people who coach just for that, talk about not mixing personal and business and, trying to keep things focused. So that way, your followers really, they're there for a reason, and you're being on brand. That's our phrase now, is we're staying on brand. But I feel like with an email, especially being a farmer, people want, I think, to, and this is my opinion, so correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like people want to see what's going on. If you're planting tulip bulbs, they want to know you're planting tulip bulbs. And I think it's fun to kind of get behind, because I feel like people like to see behind the scenes. And I feel like that also helps add value and expectation for that next email that comes in, 6-8 weeks, where it's like, tulips are ready. I mean, whatever length of time it is. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. We're selling the reason we're not a commodity is because we're real people. If we're just selling flowers and there's no personal connection, they can go to the grocery store. They can go to Costco. They can order, it doesn't matter. You can get flowers anywhere. That's a commodity. The thing that decommoditizes it is you. And that's why they're going out of their way to pay more money, because our products probably have to be more than the grocery store. They're willing to pay more money and do it inconveniently because it's you. So therefore, let them see what you're doing. And you only have to be personally vulnerable to the extent that you want to. Like, now that my kids are grown, I don't share pictures of my kids anymore. You got to have boundaries with what you share. And social media has gotten, like, nowadays you do need to share a little more than we have in the past. So The days of just having a very corporate looking, beautifully curated Instagram account, for instance, if you pull up your 9 photo grid and it's all curated, those days are past. And now reels are what's promoted, and it's going to be reels about you, and it could be your family, and it could be a recipe. You know, maybe you're a flower farmer, but you baked this amazing chocolate chip cookies for your kids' birthday party at school last week, and you have a little reel about you doing that. So that personal connection is becoming more and more, it's what's promoted in social media, and it gives you more engagement. So and I'm not telling everyone to do what you're not comfortable with. To the extent that you're comfortable, the more you can share about yourself, the better. And I have my own personal boundaries that are just personal to me, and it doesn't matter. And some people really put it out there. Sometimes you see it and you're like, whoa, TMI, I wouldn't be sharing that. So everyone has their own tolerance for that. But it is promoted more. The algorithm does seem to prioritize when people are a little more personal, and it gets more attention, gets more likes. So then they will promote that more. So yeah, behind the scenes, but it could also be behind the scenes in your house. What book are you reading?
Yeah.
What Bible quote did you see that really touched you? Like, I see farmers doing all sorts of things that helps the public get to know them. And that's why they're willing to go out of their way to spend more money with you, because you're a real person with real problems, real fun, a real life.
Yeah. Well, I can appreciate that, because I also think, and you kind of touched on it earlier, that we associate followers with dollars. And I can't tell you how many times we've had guests on the podcast that say followers do not equal dollars. And that's so important. But what I do feel like is what you described, the personal connections, those things that you can cultivate on social media to an extent. I mean, I still don't think the email is, I think, the best way of doing that. But what you do on social media, I feel like that would resonate with the people who will spend the money, not maybe the other 80% of the people that aren't even in your delivery area or the zone that's your community that would be your customer. I mean, unless maybe you ship products or something like that, that's a little different conversation. But most of us are only focusing in on our own backyard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, it's crucial that you funnel your social media followers to your email list. And you're going to get the people that are interested in, if your lead magnet is how to prepare your dahlia beds for spring and you're a dahlia farmer, well, then you're going to get people that are definitely going to be your customers. But you've shared enough personal stuff about the book you're reading and the chocolate chip cookie recipe that the algorithm has shown you to more people. So that's a way you could be more likely to get more people in your local area that are interested in your products.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I think too, sometimes people maybe feel overwhelmed with starting this process because they may only have 50 people, 10 people. I don't know. Like, they have almost no list at all. And it seems daunting to start it. But, it's like, what is that expression about the elephant in the room? How do you eat the elephant in the room? One bite at a time. And it's just, every day, every week, add, get 4 or 5 more people, do that lead magnet. I love the idea of how to make your flowers last longer, how to dry your flowers, how to do a wreath, how to plant bulbs, how to, whatever that is.
There's infinite ideas for lead magnets, and you have the same lead magnet up. You can have the same one up for 2 or 3 years, because it's new people.
Yeah.
But on your email list, everybody starts at 0. Nobody starts at 1,000 people on their email list. We all start at 0. And I like to, sometimes I'm coaching people who are up, feeling just really frustrated. Their email list isn't bigger. Well, you're not entitled to start at 100 people. You're only entitled to start at email list of 0 and feeling entitled to have more people on your email list just doesn't make sense because we all start at 0. And then the first 2 people are your mom and your sister, and your kids, right?
Exactly.
And it grows from there. So nobody's entitled for it to be easier than it's hard. It's hard work. And you got to
Sure.
get out there every day. Like you just made a really good point. Make it a goal to add 1 person a day to your email list. That's 7 people a week or 4 people a week, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And that's the little bite size. What can you do to get 1 more person today? And I like to look at it as I say it, I ask myself this way, like, how can I serve 1 person today so they'll get on my email list? And when you come from that place, I'm serving you, it just makes it so much easier to get out there and help people. And naturally, 1 of them will get on your email list.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's really good. Well, another topic that I know we could talk about email probably for the whole hour, but I also know that you have, I mean, this is the thing about your coaching business that you can talk to so many different topics. And one of which I felt like, because I was knowing we were doing this, I've been listening to your podcast and I've been getting these great little nuggets and is in dealing with employees and dealing with hiring and dealing with some of these hard topics because I know, if you're a big established grower or florist or, company, this may be no big deal to you. Like you've already reached that threshold, but maybe not. Maybe you've hired 2 people and you're afraid to hire 5 people and that's really where you need to be. And so this problem can relate to anybody at any stage of it. But I think when you're starting from 0 or 1 employee to ramp things up a little bit, that's a little earth shattering a little bit for some, or scary. Maybe scary is the better word. And I feel like, I don't know. I wanted to ask you, when it comes to hiring, how do you help people kind of mentally get, with their mindset, get to that point where they see the return? Because that's really what, to me, I see return on investment. And I feel like other people are either because they've had bad experiences with other employees, that maybe didn't, they hired somebody, it didn't work out, and, or they don't do things the way they do them. I mean, I know I'm opening a gigantic can of worms here right now, but, I just, kind of wanted to get your thoughts on this because I know, again, going into winter, it's hard because we may have to let some people go that, we're not busy anymore. But also if we've never had that, we need to start 2025 off with a bang. And how do we work through that process and get ramped up? That was a whole lot.
That was a lot of questions in one question. So I'm trying to think what would be the most useful. Let me start with often the first problem around hiring is they're overworked and yet they say they can't afford to hire.
Yes.
You have to raise your prices. Your prices, I've never met a farmer where I said your prices are too high, you need to lower them. Never. It's always the reverse. And then I'll have people say, I need to hire someone, but I'm not paying myself yet. You've got to raise your prices. Now, as soon as I say you got to raise your prices in a coaching call, that's when all the objections come up. But everyone will leave.
Right.
I'm already the highest priced. My clients are usually the highest price in their field, and other farmers are saying, wow, if they can charge that much, we can raise our prices too. So if you're the highest priced in your area already, yay, you're an example of what's possible for others farmers. That's great. And if you're not paying yourself and you can't afford to hire, they need to go up. They aren't up where they need to be. And if you've built the relationship with them that I talk about through email marketing, people are going to support you in raising your prices. I'll have flower farmers come in my program and scared to death to raise their prices. We coach through it. They raise them and they don't lose one customer. It's usually the case. They don't lose anyone. And then they get a taste of what it's like to pay themselves. So anyway, and then be able to put money aside for that first hire so that they can do some of the labor, because somebody's got to be doing the money making things, and that's you. You've got to hire some of the labor so it frees you up to do the money making things. And a business makes money. If you're in business, by definition, you're charging money and making money. So who's going to be, you have to be doing those money making things, or there's no money to pay for your supplies or pay the employee or anything. So that's often the struggle we work through to get the first employee hired, is you got to raise your prices, you got to pay yourself, pay your employee.
Sure.
And then to address the thing you said that, they had problems or whatever, you're going to have problems. If you've never hired before, you're going to hire the wrong person, and that's okay. You build so much resilience and knowledge when you make your first hire. You use it as a learning session. You're writing the book on how to hire when you make your first hire. I have, like you said, I have a couple podcast episodes out there about hiring. And the only reason I can teach people how to hire is because I've made all the mistakes I teach you not to do. Like, do a background check. You have to. You will end up with the wrong person if you don't put in your ad that you're going to do a background check. For instance, that's just one. But your employee that you hire, I like to say this too, is only as good as your own personal development. So you cannot hire someone who's better, has more skills, personal skills than you are. So you have to work on yourself. You have to be working on yourself constantly. How do you manage your time, your money? How do you manage your emotions, your thoughts? All the things we work on in coaching is so that you can attract better employees. So you will only attract people that are at the same level of emotional development you are, or they won't want to work for you if they surpass you. So it's important to keep doing your personal work and working on all these things, your boundaries, your expectations, your communication skills. Then you will hire better and better employees each time you hire. So that's just a few of the things you brought up. There was way more packed in there that I could speak to.
No, but I appreciate the way you've phrased that and put that. I know one of the things that I heard you mention, and you just touched on it a minute, is, and I think of farming, I don't always think of this as being a big quality, and that is communication. And you think fundamentally, well, what is that? Me giving instructions, me train, what? But the importance of just being good at that one thing and the impact that can make.
Yeah, communication is everything. It's not almost every struggle people come to me with is a communication struggle, especially in the area of hiring an employee. So, and this is where your own personal skill, you've got to be working on that so that you can communicate in a way that's supportive and encouraging. And here's some more personal development, understanding the brain, how the brain works, which comes through in my coaching all the time. You have to understand that your brain always defaults to negative. So you're going to see the 100 things your employee's doing wrong. But if you just communicate the negative and the critical, they're going to quit and go elsewhere. So that's where you've got to learn your own mind management. And it's where it's why the whole package, the whole person, your whole personal development is crucial if you're running a business. But yes, I like to, one way I teach farmers to manage their employees is I do stand-up meetings every single day. That means I'm communicating every single day versus we tend to communicate just when something's gone wrong. Here's what I want you to do. And then we tell them when they've done it wrong. But every day, go out and tell them just briefly, what are they doing that you like? What's one thing you like? And then if there's something they need to improve on, state it then. Here's one thing I'd like you to do better or differently next time. And then thanks again, here's this other thing I like. So for me, it would be like, hey, I really like how you swept out the milk room last night at the end of your shift. It was spotless. Thank you. It means so much to me because the person coming in the next day is met with a clean workspace, and it makes everything more efficient and productive. I really appreciate you doing that. One thing I noticed is the buckets were not hung up where they're supposed to be. So next time, just make sure you put the buckets back. Oh, and then when you took the garbage out without being asked, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I totally forgot to put it out on your list. Thanks. I really value you. I couldn't do this job without you. You're amazing. All right, let me know if you need anything. And that's it. So if they get this feedback every single day, they feel so good about working for you and with you, and they're happy to make that change. So these are all just little things, when people come to coaching calls and they're having problems, it's things that we can offer that will make a huge difference. Also, it'll make a difference in their employees' attitude and how long they stay at their job.
I can see that totally. I mean, really. And I feel like too, when people, well, just think of the time you save by keeping employees. Once you've gone through this experience, you've learned things, you've found that person or people that just really make a great team. Not having to retrain people every year or every few months or whatever because they go to somewhere else. I mean, if they're happy and feel valued and that kind of feedback. The other thing when I'm hearing you say this, that I think is so important is the fact that you are having a conversation.
Yes.
This is not a text message. This is not an email. This is not, because I feel like so many times people rely on those things too much to communicate, or there's a notice or something like that, and ends up, either it seems very impersonal, or if someone is not in the right mindset, they read more attitude into that email or text than you ever meant. And so therefore, I feel like it, and it doesn't give you that opportunity to really praise that person in the right individually.
Oh yeah. There are hundreds of things that are communicated by in-person communication that are not communicated through text. So it's far more efficient, believe it or not, way more efficient and effective to do it in person versus text or email. And guess what? When you get your prices up to where you're paying yourself and you're paying an employee, you have enough time to do this. And maybe if you have a lot of employees, it's not every employee every day. If you have one employee, every day is great. If you have 5 employees, maybe it's 2 a day.
Yeah.
And they each get a connection with you, a few times a week.
Sure. No, and I can appreciate that. I feel like you get all kinds of questions and all kinds of things. What is one of the real popular questions that you get? Like when you start coaching somebody, what is that one area that you just feel like everybody has struggles with?
Pricing. The main thing they come with is, I'm not making enough money. I'm making more. Okay, here's a good one. I want to do a whole podcast episode on this. I'm making more sales every year, but there's no more money. And the simple answer is, if you're selling things at a loss, more sales just equals more loss.
Right.
More sales of $10 bouquets that cost you $9 in everything to produce. And if you make more of those sales, you still only got, you've scaled your work for a few more dollars. And so you will never catch up. So if you're not selling something and paying yourself a good wage and having 40% profit left over, and what I mean by profit is you've paid all the expenses for that product, you've paid yourself your salary, all of that has come out of the gross, and your taxes and your rent on your land, and every single expense has come out, and there's still 40% left over of money, just cash sitting in the bank that you could either invest back in your business or put in a savings account. Then you can scale it and make money. But everyone says, why are our sales going up, but there's no more money? It's because your pricing is not where it needs to be. And a lot of flower farmers, and remember, I know you have all kinds of different florists and all that. So I mainly work with direct to consumer flower farmers
Right.
and who are doing their own pricing and all that. So sometimes when they start working with me, they will have to raise their prices 2 or 3 or 4 times before they get them up to where they need to be. And again, when you have that relationship with people, they don't leave. But that's a huge misunderstanding is people think, why are my sales going up every year, but we're still losing money. You just aren't priced. You haven't priced properly.
Yeah. Well, and I know in our first episode that we did, we talked about that a little deeper. So again, I encourage you, if you want to hear more, is to go back and listen to that. But when you were saying that, it makes me think about that that farmer who does a lot of direct to consumer bouquets and such, but then lands, the mighty Whole Foods account or some account like that, which obviously to kind of get in that door, you feel this pressure probably from them about price point and how to deal with that. Is that something that you've had to deal with or something you can talk to? Because I feel like you just touched on it, that it doesn't matter if you're selling 100 times more bouquets and you're not making enough money, then you're in trouble. So
yeah, most of my farmers see that when they first start in my program, they will think that, oh, we just need a few wholesale accounts, and their wholesale accounts are going to be 30% less, but they still aren't charging enough to make a profit. So many of them realize, oh, we can't sell at less. And they're trying to do it because if they were selling enough retail, they wouldn't have to have the wholesale account. So it's just a skill gap. It's not that there aren't enough retail customers. You have not learned the skill of marketing that I teach. And once you learn the skill of marketing, and you will have enough retail customers that you don't need to worry about selling wholesale, which is not going to work out anyway, especially if you have to discount. Sometimes I'll have people who sell wholesale to wholesalers for the exact same price because it's the wholesaler is able to take that price and still charge enough that they make their margins because they're better at marketing. So if you don't have enough retail customers, you haven't developed the skill yet of being able to market, and you can do it. It's a learned skill.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you I mean, I know obviously your coaching is a big thing. Are there books you recommend, or is there, for somebody who can't sleep at night and wants to dive in something like that?
Oh my gosh. My book list.
Gosh, that sounds like a lead market or lead magnet right there.
Yeah,
Sign up for Charlotte's email to get her book list.
I should do that. My book list is the personal development, the coaching, the mindset stuff, because that's so crucial. I will read. So yeah, what topic? Because if you're talking about farming and all that, I don't have any off.
No, but I think mindset. I think that is sort of the crux of. I mean, obviously, to me, I don't believe that books can just replace that personal development that one-on-one coaching or group coaching is, because you have too much history that you read into a book sometimes, and you don't get everything out of it you should. And that's one reason why some of these books you can read 100 times and get something out every time. But I feel like, for some people who don't appreciate, they don't even understand really what is the mindset shift all about. What is that really? I don't know. I'm just curious if there's something you thought of. If not, that's okay. I just thought maybe there'd be something.
Yeah, it's funny, the book I'm reading right now, is about being codependent in relationships, because I coach so many farmers on their codependent relationships with their partner, or many of them are farming with their parents or in-laws or their children. And we've
Oh,
got all
wow.
these issues going on. So, those are the types of books I read a lot of. There's one on who wrote Essentialism. Do you remember? Let me, there's a book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown, McKeown. And this is the thing I preach to farmers over and over again. My farmers that have the most success that I interview on the podcast month after month, that are paying off mortgages on flower farms, retiring their spouses, retiring from their day jobs, finally having a year's worth of living expenses in their bank account, are doing it because they're focusing on one thing. And when they come, it doesn't mean they did that from the start. When they come to me, they're often selling, at a farmer's market, and they have a U-Pick, and they do weddings. Well, that's 3 different businesses.
Right.
So when we spend a year together and we work to get them to focus on one thing, they finally make money. And so that book, Greg McKeown, Essentialism, is a really good book to give you the perspective of why that is crucial. So, and we think, well, I'm not making enough money at the farmer's market, so I need to add weddings, or vice versa. All it means is you have not learned the skill. There's a skill gap again. You have not learned the skill of how to make a living at just farmers markets or just weddings. When you learn the skill, you don't need to spread yourself thin. You focus on one thing, and you have so much more time and energy when you focus like that. So that's a fabulous book. So many of my books that I read all the time are like that, or I'll read books about really great leaders who have worked to turn, because our businesses are really hard. We have to,
I agree.
If we're in business for 5 or 10 years, it means we face some really hard things. So I just read a book about the CEO of Starbucks.
Yeah.
And I'm reading a book on Steve Jobs right now and how he started his company. And that gives me resilience. It makes me be able to stay through when times get tough.
Yeah. Well, I know I've spoken with so many growers throughout the year, and I can appreciate that insight, especially because a lot of them, and I don't know if animal farming is any different, and that's my ignorance coming through, but I feel like sometimes, you can have the best laid plan and everything is going really great. And like, I know here in Tennessee, we have had the absolute driest summer I can ever remember. And then at the same time, now we have this hurricane that just flooded out East Tennessee and parts of North Carolina, North Georgia, and like it's devastating. And I think it's another reason to make sure you're charging enough is to create these buffers, so that way when these things happen, because I think as long as you're farming, these things are going to happen, maybe at different levels, and you need this buffer.
Yes. And so to address yes, animal farmers have all the same circumstances and challenges.
I figured.
So the reason I started adding coaching to my programs is because of the enormous combination of circumstances that farmers face that most business owners don't face. If I were a jewelry designer, the weather doesn't affect me too much.
Right.
Or regulations, or, there's so many circumstances that affect farmers, from Mother Nature, cows dying, all that. And so you're right in that in a good year, you have to charge more and more this year to pay for the cow that's going to die next year, or the tulips that aren't going to grow, that get diseased, or whatever it might be. And often farmers don't make that mindset shift. They think, well, no, if if my tulips die, that's my fault. I have to absorb that. Or if my cows died, no, that's farming. Cows are dying, crops are dying, beetles are eating the dahlias, whatever. It's going to happen. That is the cost of doing business. And so that has to be a line item when you're figuring out your costs and expenses to price your product. So you do have to charge to pay for those years where it all fails if you want to be in business for the long run. And that is a really big mindset shift that's hard for people to wrap their brains around. But if you want to be in business successful and profitably long term, you have to. And when you have that relationship with people, they're willing to pay that price to pay the price of the risk you take for that extreme set of circumstances. For many of us, it's insurance. My health insurance is $1,000 a month because I don't go to a job that pays my health insurance. Many of us as farmers do. That has to be figured into it. Our farm products have to pay for the risk we take to be home running this business. And a lot of farmers forget to include that.
Yeah. Well, and it's not until something devastating happens, and then you wish you had in some way, or maybe you're just starting out and this is your first chance to do it. But it's good to have that insight, I think, and I appreciate you saying those things. I do. I feel like it's like you're putting money aside for that, as an insurance policy.
It is.
Yeah, I hate to say rainy day because sometimes rain's good, but I just
Yeah.
but that's really what it is. I mean, you're just putting that away because like you mentioned the cow situation, but there are going to be things that happen, and that's how you help weather those storms or weather those tough times.
Yes. Yes. You've got to have a big bank account full of money today because you'll be glad you did when devastation hits. And it does. Barns burn down, the truck burns down, everything, you name it. You've seen it. You've heard of it. You've in business long enough. You've seen a lot of different challenging circumstances.
I have, and I know you have too. I so appreciate this time. I can't believe when I talk to you, I feel like our time flies by.
I know it does, doesn't it?
It does. So I always wonder, you're doing so much. I know we kind of just talked about something else, another thing. Tell us more about, maybe as we sign off here, your coaching. What's the best way for people to connect to you? Because I know that these are huge topics that we've just barely touched on, and I know that you go much deeper and all that. So maybe share that with us.
Sure. So I teach marketing, but coaching is built into it. And so, and they can go to my website, charlottemsmith.com, and read more about it there. But if I just teach you how to do email marketing, your mindset's going to get in the way. Like you said, we stand in our own way. And once I added coaching to my marketing and my time management training, 7 or 8 years ago, so many more farmers became successful because we learned to get out of our own way. And it's as simple as you're thinking, oh, this is so hard. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, nobody's going to pay that price. Those sound like really simple, innocent, factual thoughts, but they're not. They're just mindsets that are keeping you stuck. And so once farmers discover that when they shift their mindset, they finally make the changes they need to be successful, there's no stopping them. So yeah, we go deep. I coach, my clients show up on a group coaching call once a week, and whatever one person gets coached on, everyone needs to hear that. It's pretty impressive and amazing. And then what happens is when they start to shift their mindset, their family does too, their partner, their children, their employees, everything about their business and life improves when they shift their mindset. So to me, I don't teach marketing without it. Now, I call it the 3 crucial pillars of a profitable farm are time, because I teach time management, money through marketing, and mindset. And if you're missing any one of those, managing your time, your mindset, your marketing, you won't get to profit. You won't be in business. If you're lacking any one of those, you will go out of business and you'll lose a lot of money doing so.
So do these sessions, are these, is it go on for like 3 months at a time, 12 weeks at a time, 6 months at a time? How does this work when somebody signs up to do this with you?
I have two ways I offer. I will do just the marketing and mindset coaching boot camp for 6 weeks, 6 coaching calls, and then the time management for 6 weeks, 6 coaching calls. And if they want, they can apply what they paid for that program to my year-long coaching program. The year-long is the best, but if someone needs a taste of it first, one of the other two, and then join the year-long is great. But the farmers who get the most success don't do it with, you can't just go from losing money to profit in 6 weeks. They're the ones that are with me for a year. Give it a year to learn marketing, to learn to manage your time and to manage your mindset. Your whole life will change. Your dreams will come true. And I'm serious when I say that. It's like the farmers I work with are reaching dreams they never thought possible. And they're writing books. They dreamed of having their own line of seeds, and now they're doing that with the amazing little packets of seeds they're selling nationally. All kinds of dreams coming true because they give it a year. So many of us think, oh, I'm going to take this class for a month or 2 or 3, and we're looking for that quick fix. But you're rewiring your brain that you spent a lifetime, you spent decades thinking very habitually the way you think today. It's going to take a year to turn that around. And then some farmers come back year after year and they're with me for 2 and 5 and 8 years and just having success beyond their wildest dreams. So yeah, a year is ideal, but I do have these 6-week opportunities for people to get a taste of it. And then, like I said, they can apply that money toward the purchase of the full price. So yeah,
that's awesome. Well,
it's amazing.
Charlotte, again, thank you so much for being on the Flower Podcast again.
Thank you, Scott. This has been great. I really appreciate you and what you're doing.